Rob and I this week decided that one of the things we wanted to do was to come up with the 80 things that Dad has taught us for his 80 years. 80. There might have been more, but we narrowed it down.
Tonight.
Took some work. No, they're all long. They're all paragraphs.
Everybody get comfortable.
Some of us are going to be uncomfortable.
I will say that some of them are probably inside jokes, and so some of them you may have to ask him later what they meant. He'll get most of them.
I think he'll get all of them.
So I'll start, and we're going to start in the 70s. So the number one is that you taught me not to cross the street, which made it really hard for me to run away from home.
That's true.
He tried it. He walked around the block a couple of times.
With a suitcase full of underwear.
All right. Also in the 70s, really early in life, he taught us to respect the military.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Number 3, he taught me to sing Tiptoe Through the Tulips and how to capture a crowd.
Did he show you how?
We did it together. Yeah.
And in the 70s, he also taught me some physics. He taught me that a shuffleboard puck accelerates at 9.8 meters per second onto my step.
Landed on his toe.
Number 5, he taught us that if you don't have a remote control, or they haven't invented one yet, your kids will work just as well by standing by the TV.
In the 70s, he taught us what fantasy football was, even before it was actually called fantasy football.
One of the earliest back then. Number 7, you taught Rich that Willie McCovey can really whack the ball at my first Giants game.
And he taught us that we can be anything we want in life, except a truck driver or work at a gas station. Wouldn't let us do it. Yeah.
He taught us that spending weekends at a club, Kona Kai in this case, where kids can run free and other kids and parents can socialize, was a great way to grow up.
To grow up or grow up?
Well, the kids grow up, parents.
All right. Now we're in the 80s. So early in the 80s, he taught us that taking vacations with your family builds lifelong memories, especially down at Santa Barbara camp.
And in the 80s, he taught us how to catch fly balls while hitting tennis balls with a tennis racket. That's how we learned how to catch fly balls.
He taught us that really early in life, there's no lying down in Monopoly for your kids, ever.
Especially at Park Place.
And in Monopoly, he did tell us that there's no better property than the orange properties.
What about the blue ones?
Not as good as the
White ones, the blue ones are second.
It's Park Place.
Park Place is blue. But
He taught me the art of the underhand toss from second base to get the out at first.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He invented it.
he taught us if there's a breakfast you love, it's okay to order it every time you go to the Blintz in Los Altos.
Like steak Diane.
Also in the 80s, he taught us that it's important, if you leave town and you leave the babysitter at home, it's important to let her know that your Mercedes is not a diesel.
He taught us what a gun sounds like when you fire around in the lawn to clean your gun.
Oh yeah, and he also taught us real early that bullets are really hard to dig up. We're trying to find it.
He taught us how to play horseshoes.
All right. And he taught me that if your soccer coach happens to quit, then sometimes Dad will step in and keep the team together.
He taught us that if the Army-Navy game is on, you're not allowed to talk to Buzz.
That's an inside joke.
He taught us that having a Mercedes imported from Germany isn't always a good idea. A black market or a gray market car.
He taught us that sometimes a cornerback can break his leg while trying to cover Uncle Skip.
And he taught us. He taught us, actually, this is during the Olympics in '84 down in LA. If you're playing Trivial Pursuit and you're picking teams, always pick Grandma Greene.
He taught us how to swim the length of the pool and collect as many beers as you can at the Kona Kai beer dive.
Remember the beer dive. He taught us that there's more than one kind of beach in LA. Remember that at the Olympics? We were staying by a beach and we looked around and it was lots of gentlemen. Only gentlemen.
You taught us to love Clamato.
Yeah. He also taught us that in a random draw of tickets for the Olympics, sometimes you're in the nosebleeds and the next day you're sitting front row next to Carl Lewis's family.
You taught us that we should take our kids to the Olympics. What a memory, but probably not in Rio. Next time.
He also taught us that a round-trip drive from the Bay Area to Santa Barbara can be accomplished with only one Johnny Cash cassette tape. We know all the words.
Here's that train coming.
You taught us that taking the opportunity to spend 6 weeks together as a family in a motorhome is an opportunity that you shouldn't pass up.
He also taught us that you don't put up all the money without a controlling interest in the business.
That's right.
You taught us that sometimes you have to take a risk.
And he taught Rich that selling peanuts at the Super Bowl is probably the only time he'll go to the Super Bowl.
You taught Rob that even if he's on crutches, we're still going all the way to the top of the arch at Lake Mead.
And on that same motorhome trip, he taught us that a firecracker is more powerful than the skin on your hand. You got to watch out for the quick.
You taught us that no matter how hard you work or how busy you are, you still have time to coach your kids' sports teams.
Yeah.
He taught Rich the value of setting a goal and making a wager. And Rich came back with a 4.0 in high school and a sweet convertible Mustang.
Whoa.
You taught Rob that even if he's already getting straight A's, the same wager still applies. Fair is fair.
And you taught us that Maui's the best spot to take vacation.
You and Uncle Bob taught us that the fireplace in Granite Bay is climbable. They climbed a stone fireplace.
It's kind of like that fireplace in there. And you can actually get up to the top after a couple
I'm not sure what caused it.
Yeah. You taught us to keep your eyes moving all the time when you're driving.
You taught us what happens if you don't put the plug in the boat while launching it.
You taught Rich how to drive a stick shift, and I think my neck's a little sore still from the experience.
You taught us it's okay to own 3 houses.
And you taught Rich that once you learn how to do well in school, you don't need the motivation of a car to keep it going.
You taught us that if you treat employees with genuine respect, they'll move mountains for you.
And you taught us how Frank Sinatra's songs are supposed to be sung.
You taught us the second home in the mountains is a great part of a childhood. We both own one today and enjoy them with our families.
And you taught us that it's okay to join in on the fun in a cruise ship in 1989 and look a little silly. It's part of the fun. You remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah.
Dad, you taught me that you're not a fan of earrings on men.
And you also taught us that you should always hide your car keys when Cousin Lori's house sitting.
Inside.
This is more of an inside joke here. You taught us the Rock of Gibraltar theory. Think one move ahead. We're glad you did too.
That's how we met Sandy. He taught us that Garwood's is an amazing place for brunch in Tahoe.
Yes.
90s.
Oh, the 90s.
We're in a new decade.
You taught Rich that it's good for a father and son to take one last trip to a water slide park before he goes off to college.
And you taught us to appreciate the Jazz Fest in Sacramento.
You taught us that in questionable seas, when the franchisor comes calling with a nice offer, you take the money and run.
And he taught me that on a 2-day drive to Oregon, staying the night at a bed and breakfast at the Russian family, the Ivanovs, is more fun than staying in a hotel.
You taught Rich how to pilot a 51-foot blue water and navigate a twin-screw vessel.
And he taught me how to be the first mate on that same vessel, even if it was on the poop dock in Stockton.
You taught Rich that it was fun to sing karaoke on a sailboat with Brian and Wanjong.
And he taught me that investing in growing industries and picking the leaders is a sound strategy, and buy and hold pays off.
In the 90s, you taught us that standing up to a bunch of litigious ambulance chasers can work out in your favor.
And he taught us how to play bocce. Yeah.
You taught Rich that investing. You taught Rich about investing by opening an account for him, helping him build his own nest egg.
Taught us where to find the best ahi benedict on the planet. That's in Kapalua in Maui.
He taught us that once you play Kapalua, the rest just don't feel the same.
And he taught us if you're good to the wait staff at the Hula Grill, you can request the best table in the house every year for New Year's Eve.
You taught us if you have a chance to buy a 10,000 square foot house on a lake from someone who needs the money quick, you found a good deal.
And kids, plug your ears. At my wedding, he taught us that a table shouting the word devotion can sound like bullshit. You remember that?
You taught us that if you experience enough in life, you should write a book about it.
And he taught me that CU Boulder looked like a pretty cool place to go to college, and he actually might want to tag along with me.
And if those of you who don't know, Kim and I got married right here on this very point. You taught me that if a wedding's supposed to start at 6 p.m., it's going to start at 6 p.m.
That's right.
On time.
And again in the 90s, he taught me that it's pretty cool to see your kids held by their papa.
Yeah.
And you taught me that it's pretty... Well, that's the same.
He taught you later.
Oh, he taught me! Wait a second. That's the same one.
We're on number 75 out of 80. We're almost there. We're almost home.
Home stretch. All right, that's your turn now.
Okay, he taught us both what it's like to own a Porsche. Actually, the same Porsche.
Really fun.
Into the 2000s, we used to play a game called Killer, where you play with cards, and if you get caught, you have to take a shot and jump in the lake. You taught us that at 75, it's okay to take a shot and jump in the lake if you lose at Killer. At 78, the lake is off the table.
In the 2000s, you taught us how much you dislike Hillary. We're bringing politics in.
In 2016, you taught us how much you really dislike Hillary.
And this last one isn't a particular decade. It spans from 1972 all the way up to today. He taught us how to treat our wives and families with love and respect.
Good job. Boy, that's great.
We got one.